link. Okay, if your friends still could not access this class, they can try the YouTube link. Yeah? Okay, your friends could not. Okay. Right. Now I would like to split you into groups. Okay. So probably about 5 or 6 of you in one group. But this will be done randomly, randomly by Zoom. So so to save time, so I'll just split you. So we have about 80 now. Probably some from Facebook. So 24. Okay, I'm going to split you into probably 12 groups. Okay, once you join the group, okay, probably take a few minutes just to kata takruf sikit dalam group tu, and I will give you 5 questions that you need to discuss in your group member. Okay. Okay, and so just you will be in the group and just greet your friends and you can start discuss. Takruf lah dulu. Any problem, Noor? Ada yang tak masuk lagi. Okay. Right, so I believe that you have discussed this article, which discussed mainly on the Islamic worldview. Okay, let me just and why should as a Muslim we should know what is an Islamic worldview, okay, and what is the definition, right, and why it is important for us, yeah, as a Muslim to understand what is Islamic worldview. Now, before I share the lecture, now let's hear from you on what you have discussed from with your groups. Now let me invite first the first group. Okay, Muhammad Azrul Afiq. Muhammad Azrul Afiq, can you share what you have discussed with your groups based on that 5 questions? Any question, no problem. Just you don't have to share all. You can pick 1 or 2 questions. Azrul Afiq, are you here?
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Can I share about the number 4 about the what is the problem of the Western life?
Yeah, sure.
So basically, what I understand that the Western is they are too far with Islam, but I didn't say that they should take Islam, but their life are very different to Islam. Maybe in case Western they following this. There are many aliran such as secularism and others. So that's all.
All right. Probably can you share one Western worldview which is a bit in contrast with the with the Islam worldview? Can you think of one?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Since my line is not good.
Okay, can you think of an example of a Western worldview which is quite in contrast with the Islamic worldview?
I think about their believing in science.
Okay, so what was the problem with their belief in science?
Like us, we believe the science and we also look at the Quran. So we have the 2 things that we learn. So different of the Western, they just see the science, not the Quran.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Azrul Afiq. Okay, and group 1. Okay, from group 2, Faris Awatif. Faris Awatif.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, can you share what you have discussed with your group?
Any question?
Yeah, no.
Any question?
Mm-hmm.
Which one? I would likely to answer the first question.
Okay.
What the first purpose of life?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. What we have discussed and what I have read the article.
Mm-hmm.
From a point of view, from non-Muslim worldview,
Mm-hmm.
An article say James Anderson ni, he said that those question of big question, which mean including what purpose of life, what we going, what we doing, that is person worldview that answer the question. So that is from the point of view of this James Anderson. So he said that depend on every person worldview, so they know what they do in their life. So that from non-Muslim view, but from most Islamic worldview, I have one dalil to share, which is وَمَا خَلَّقْتُ الْجِنِّ Bismillah وَمَا خَلَّقْتُ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, which mean manusia dan jin ni tidak diciptakan melainkan bersujud kepadaku, which is Allah. So here in Al-Quran says that we are created for to what we call it, worship him. So we need to follow that, because Al-Quran is only our guidance, and that only the truth comes. So from here we know what we're doing, not just from observation, not just from our what we call it, opinion on world, because every person opinion on worldview is different, right? So when it's come to Islamic, it one, just only to worship Allah. That's all.
Right. Okay, thank you, Faris.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
Right. So so you mentioned about the one of the purpose of our existence is to worship Allah. Yeah. So meaning that in everything that we do, not just salat, not just fasting, everything, even when you are studying, when we are eating, or whatever, when you are with your families, that is also considered, that has to be within the scope of worship, to worship Allah, to worship Allah. Which is a bit different from the Western. They might be worshipping something, but they are not worshipping that Allah, which is one. So they might have their own definition of God, or they might have their own definition, or they have their own definition of existence, which does not include worshipping Allah. Okay, so that we can see already the difference. So and that difference should also show the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, because whatever a Muslim does, or the reason of why a Muslim do something is because they are worshipping Allah. Okay, and this is something that we have to reflect on ourselves, right? Because for the non-Muslim, whatever they do, for example, if they do business, or if they work in a place, right? Their purpose would be probably a slightly different from a true Muslim. Yeah, and this is what we must understand, so that we don't want to be claiming as a Muslim, and we do our salat and fasting, and we also say our shahada, asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna muhammadar rasulullah. But in terms of worldview, it seems that we cannot, we are not much different from the non-Muslim. That is what is the worrying part. Yeah. So, for example, if I go to work, yeah, if I or if my life, in my life, or in a human life, we eat, and then people get married, for example. So, but if you observe the birds or the cats, yeah, they also eat. Yeah, they also go out early in the morning to find food and bring it back to the family, and they also have their own family, right? So there must be a difference between us and the birds and the animals, yeah, because they eat and we are also eating. They have their own system of family, so-called, and we also have a family. But what makes us different from the animal? That's one. And what makes us different from those people who doesn't consider their life as worshipping Allah? Okay, so if they don't worship Allah, what do they worship? And this is something that we need to ask ourselves. If I don't worship Allah, am I worshipping position? Yeah. So orang kata orang berebut jawatan, kita pun sama 2 kali 5 berebut jawatan. But is that worshipping Allah? Yeah? Is that berebut jawatan tu worshipping Allah? If people are building wealth, mereka membina kekayaan, adakah mereka membina kekayaan itu worshipping Allah? Is that wealth that they are collecting, is that part of worshipping Allah? If they do, what is the evidence that they worship Allah while collecting the wealth? Yeah? If you look at sahabat, for example, Sayyidina Osman radhiyallahu anhu, he is a very rich man. He's a rich sahabat, and through his wealth, yeah, he was able to buy what do you call it? Telaga, ya, perigi. So he was able to buy that as a source of water. Yeah, if the Jews were to have that, let me see what's the word. Saya lupa. Apa ya telaga in English? Lupa. Well, is it well?
Yeah, I think yes. Kau pergi telaga.
Pergi ke telaga in English apa?
Well.
Okay. So if the Jews were to conquer the well, okay, then most probably, and it is a source of water, and that Sirah shows how important is water to life. So if the Jews were able to conquer that well, then it will be a great problem to the Muslim. That's why Sayyidina Osman were able to use his wealth to buy the well and make it as a waqaf, and it is still available, exists until today. Okay? So he also has wealth, but his purpose of life is not about the wealth. Yeah? So kekayaan itu bukan matlamat. Kekayaan itu sebagai satu wasilah, sebagai satu alat, ya, untuk memenangkan Islam. Just like Khadijah, just like Abdul Rahman bin Auf, yeah. So, and their purpose is not to collect the wealth, yeah, but through doing business in integrity, then with that barakah, okay, they were able to collect the wealth. Okay? So if you remember the stories of Abdul Rahman bin Auf, when he first came to Medina, he has nothing because he left everything in Makkah. Okay, and so rather than he refused the wealth that he refused, the assistance in terms of bantuan kewangan to Abdul Rahman. Instead he said, can you show me where is the marketplace, kat mana tempat nak berjual beli. So, and he start a business, but because of his honesty, his sincerity, and doing a business, doing a business in the scope of worshipping Allah, then his wealth multiple dia jadi berganda dengan barakah tersebut. Yes, and in fact, one of the stories says that one day they hear that camels was in the city of Madinah, and the noise made by the camels moving into Madinah, dia bergerak dalam bandar Madinah, dia bunyi bising begitu banyaknya untuk unta Abdul Rahman bin Auf. So if you want, two person, okay, one person they might have 5 million, another person have 5 million, but one person with that 5 million, the purpose is to worship Allah, and they spend it in the way that Allah will be pleased with them, and that 5 million, so that 5 million becomes something for them to gain pleasure from Allah and also to go into Jannah. Yeah, but maybe another person also with 5 million, but he worked hard for that 5 million, and with the rahmat of Allah, because he worked hard, Allah gave him that 5 million, but his 5 million is to build maybe 5 houses all over the world, and then he travel here and there, it's only for him. Yeah? So kekayaan itu hanya untuk dia saja. So not for the neighbors, not for the people who are having difficulties and so on. Okay, because and this shows a different worldview. So saya mungkin ada RM100, cara saya appreciate RM100 mungkin berbeza dengan seorang lagi. Okay, so kalau saya ni mata duitan, mata RM100 tu adalah harta yang saya kena jaga. Ya. So kalau saya bagi RM10 ke orang, saya rasa saya dah rugi RM10, saya ada RM90 sahaja. But if people with the right worldview, if I have 100, even if I give 100, insyaAllah Allah will return tenfold dalam bilangan yang berganda-ganda. Because we believe that Allah yang memberikan rezeki, if you spend in the way of Allah, Allah will give it back to you. Okay, and you will spend again, and that's how the barakah comes. So this worldview, okay, so worldview is actually is the mindset. So how we perceive things, okay, and the way we perceive things will influence the way we make decisions, the way we respond to things. Yeah. For example, if given in organization, for example, and you heard that one or maybe 2 or 3 of your colleagues were being promoted. Now, how do you respond to the promotion of your colleagues? Will very much depend on your worldview. Yeah. So if we believe that promotion is something that 100% human effort, yeah? Maknanya rezeki ni adalah 100% usaha manusia, then if people are being promoted, we might be jealous, or we might start creating stories, bolehlah dia naik pangkat sebab dia pandai bodek and things like that, but if as a Muslim with the right worldview, kalau orang dapat rezeki, itu Allah yang beri pada dia. Kalau Allah beri kat dia rezeki 5 juta, that doesn't mean Allah tak boleh nak bagi kat saya 5 juta. Because rezeki Allah ni dia abundance, luas. So tidaklah maknanya kalau orang beri kat orang ni 5 juta, maknanya Allah dah tak ada dah sumber nak beri kat saya 5 juta, contoh, for example. Because we understand that Allah is bountiful, kan, and Allah is Ar-Razzaq, Allah yang memberikan rezeki. It doesn't matter kalau orang lain naik pangkat dan sebagainya, because we know that Allah give everyone the right portion, the right amount at the right time, and all those things. We trust Allah, and Allah knows what He is doing, and Allah knows how to put a portion to the rezeki of everyone. Okay, so all these are mindset. Yeah? All these are form a person's worldview, right? Okay, so maybe we let's hear from another group. Okay, ini grup kecil je ni. Norwawi from room 8. Norwawi ada? Norwawi. Safira ada?
Prof. Let me answer.
Yeah, sure.
Because I am part of the group.
Okay. And that, may I know who's that? I
am Shafwan.
Oh, Shafwan.
Muhammad Shafwan.
All right.
I choose question number 2.
Okay.
Okay. Why man cannot be the source of truth and worldview?
All right.
From my opinion and from what I have read in the article, it is because the truth and the world are broader and more consequential than man. He cannot be the primary source of truth and worldview. He is subjected to methods that reveal the truth as well as establish and validate its worldview. Furthermore, because he is a part of the world, contributing to and receiving from it, and always trapped in the dynamics of its vicissitudes, so man will never be able to truly see and comprehend it. That's all. Sorry, Prof. Your mic is off.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the question is why man cannot be the source of truth and worldview. Okay. And you were mentioned about something about consequence. What was the sentences? No? Something about sequence or something.
More consequential. Methods more consequential
for men.
Than men.
Than men. Who is more consequential?
I mean the wait a minute. I think the man itself, the man himself.
The man itself is consequential. The man itself is consequential. That's why we okay. I'm not really sure what you mean, but what I can interpret from that sentence is that man is consequential means that we as a human being we are we need to obey the rule that something will produce something, a cause and effect, cause and effect. So okay, probably I will not further comment on that. Nanti takut confused lah. Now why man cannot be the source of truth and the worldview? If man is purely the source of truth, how far can a man see the truth? Sejauh mana manusia ni kan dia boleh nampak kebenaran? Sejauh mana? Is there a limit? Sejauh mana yang kita nampak? For example, I can see in front of me, I can see left, I can see right, but I don't know what's behind me. So apa yang berlaku di belakang saya, di belah belakang ni, saya tak nampak. I cannot see. So that's already a limitation. Okay, even if I look left and right, I cannot fully look right, for example, unless I turn. I turn, then I can do right. So we have a lot of limitations. Okay, and sometimes we are bound by our perception. For example, if I stand here and I look, there's a figure on the ground that shows 6. Yes, saya berdiri kat sini, saya nampak angka 6, right? Tapi kalau ada orang opposite saya, dia akan nampak nombor apa? Kalau saya tengok bawah, saya nampak 6. Orang opposite saya, dia akan nampak apa? 9.
9.
So maknanya we have a perception apa yang kita nampak saja, tapi orang lain dia akan nampak lain, right? So as a human we have limitation. Yes, we can have a good brain, good intellectual capacity, but still we are limited. Yeah. But what about Allah? Allah ada limitation tak?
No.
Allah there's no Allah is unlimited, maknanya there's no limitation between what Allah can see, what Allah can arrange, what Allah can design, and Allah is the most knowledgeable, okay, and He knows, and sekarang ni we are able to breathe, and there's 53 of you now in Zoom, so the 53 of us plus me, we are breathing, and we can move our hands and so on, and we can use our eyes. But not only the 54 of us, but the rest of the people in the world, and all the bacteria, all the parasites, semua, everything is being taken care of by Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Because Allah is Al-Qayyum. He maintains everything. He maintains everything. That shows how powerful is Allah as a creator. So we cannot rely on ourselves only, because we have limitations, and we cannot rely only on our worldview. Kita nak maknanya kita kata yang ni aja betul, so kita nak semua orang tengok yang ni betul, kita kata 6, orang sana tengok 9, kan? So that's why we cannot just hang on kepada manusia. So because of that, we need to refer to something which is reliable, yang no doubt, tak ada undoubtful, tak ada keraguan, boleh dipercayai, and it is consistent, bukannya hari ni macam ni, esok lain pula dan sebagainya, and that's only, and we can get only from one source, which is our Creator, because He knows everything, right? So that's why when we talk about worldview, I cannot hold on to the worldview of secular, for example, because secular comes from man, or liberalism also comes from man. So manusia yang fikir kena sama rata dan sebagainya, or positivism and all those ism yang lain. So the only reliable worldview is only from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Hanya kepada Allah. That's what differentiate us from other worldviews. Yang membezakan kita dengan pandangan alam yang lain. So worldview, kalau dia punya tu pandangan worldview, pandangan alam. So pandangan alam Islam is the Islamic worldview. So the way we perceive things is different. As, for example, just now I told you the story of Abdul Rahman bin Auf. So bagaimana dia melihat perniagaan itu berbeza dengan orang lain. Orang lain berniaga, dia nak kaut untung. So bila nak kaut untung, maka dia akan buat pelbagai cara supaya dia dah kaut untung. And sometimes they become manipulative, and sometimes dia ada unsur-unsur penipuan, supaya dia dapat banyak sales dan banyak untung. But kalau for example Rasulullah SAW, he showed us an example of being an entrepreneur or handling business with honesty and so on. And sometimes Rasulullah he went to the market and he will put his hand under, maknanya dia ada timbunan korma tu, dia akan letak tangan di bawah sekali dan dia keluarkan. So yang bawah tu yang sebenarnya yang dah rosak, dah busuk. Yang atas tu dia nampak kononnya cantik. And this is what Allah and this is something that Allah do not like us to do. Allah tak suka kita orang kata cover je nampak cantik kan, tapi actually inside tu barang rosak dan sebagainya lah. So this is the sunnah of Nabi Shu'aib alaihissalam, where during Nabi Shu'aib alaihissalam, that people they do business, but they were apa kalau misal kata if 10 kg actually it's 9 kg and so on. So and this is not what is being taught by Rasulullah SAW. Okay, so why man cannot be the source of truth? Because men have limitations and the way we perceive things are different. And that's why we need one source which is reliable, and the only source which is reliable, of course, the one who creates us, okay, which is the creator. Yeah? And we need to have full trust with Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Okay, probably another group. Let me see. Probably group 11, Khadijah. Khadijah ada?
Yes.
Okay, silakan Khadijah.
I choose maybe question 5. What would be the problem if you neglect the Islamic worldview? Based on what we know, our human intellectual capabilities are so insufficient. So we as human have a high tendency to make mistake.
Yeah.
So if we neglect the Islamic worldview, we such as live with no system in our life, something like that. Therefore, maybe we will become become suicide. And because by knowing by following the Islamic worldview, we will have a good source of guidance for us. I think that's it.
Right. Okay, so if we neglect the Islamic worldview, then what will be our basis of, for example, making decisions? What will be our basis in responding to certain situations? What will be our basis in our perception on certain things, or the value that we hold on certain things? Okay, now for example, I'm not really sure about you, but if you talk to many businessmen, probably one of the advice that they might give you is that in business, if you don't cheat, dia tak boleh hidup. Okay, so kalau tak tipu dalam berniaga ni, tak boleh hidup. So being a Muslim, is that the value that we want to hold on? So adakah, for example, we would like to cheat in order to get $100 more or 1,000 more, or I mean, is that what we something that we would sacrifice? Adakah kita sanggup, orang kata, menipu supaya kita dapat A, for example? Ya, adakah kita sanggup menipu supaya kita dapat kononnya cemerlang, tapi sebenarnya dengan hasil penipuan dan sebagainya lah. So these are the things that we have to really orang kata think or wait, kita timbangkan apabila kita nak membuat sesuatu lah. For example, if I would like to get promotion, okay, and I would like to be promoted to a certain post, would you, for example, in order that the superiors or the bosses would see you as the best person, would you downgrade, ataupun orang kata merendahkan calon-calon orang lain, contohnya lah, kata dia tak bagus, jadi tak menjadi yang bagusnya saya kan, I should be the candidate and things like that. Yeah, so these are the if you see in life, this is quite the norms, norms dalam organisasi, dalam apa-apalah. Kalau kita inginkan sesuatu, maka kita akan berusaha untuk memperendahkan orang lain supaya kita nampak baguslah. And of course, in the Quran, if we read the story, this is what we can read the stories of Nabi Yusuf and his siblings. Yeah, so bagaimana how the feeling of jealousy, for example, not that Nabi Yaqub is he give favors only to Nabi Yusuf. He take care of all his children, but they have that thing of jealousy yang menyebabkan dia buat perkara-perkara itu kepada Nabi Yusuf. Yeah, so this has already been shown in the stories of Nabi Yusuf. So dalam umat akhir zaman ni perkara itu perkara yang we can see the resemblance, persamaan keadaan-keadaan itu lah. Right? So that's why we need to have our own dignity, dipanggil jati diri in whatever situation. Okay, because we must have an understanding on the purpose of our life and why we should do this, should do something, and so on. Okay? And this can be shaped through this what we call Islamic worldview. So Islamic worldview ni sometimes kita panggil dia is a philosophy. Okay, apa falsafah hidup kita? Falsafah hidup saya, kalau saya nak berjaya saya mesti pijak orang, kan? Betul ke macam tu? Ataupun kalau saya nak berjaya saya akan berusaha kan melakukan sesuatu bersungguh-sungguh dengan amanah dan sebagainya. Dari kejayaan itu adalah kejayaan bukan saya je berjaya, tapi mudah-mudahan ianya mendapat keberkatan daripada Allah dan keredaan Allah. Kan? So these are things that we will always face in our life. Okay, even from at your age, a very young age, but as you go through your life, you will face moments that you have to make decisions. Okay, so dalam moment kita nak buat decision ni, we need to put the right mindset, the right thinking. Else kita akan hanyut ke sebelah sana. But that's why we have to understand what is it that I want or I need in certain kind of situation. Right, so we have about 20 more minutes, so I would like to share my slides before I end today's lecture. Now let me share the screen. Okay, can you see the slide on the Islamic worldview? Okay, nampak slide yang besar ke ataupun yang ada tepi dia tu?
Yang ada tepi dia.
Mana tu? Saya try lagi sekali. Oh, sekejap. Okay, now. Sekarang nampak yang besar.
Yes, Prof.
Right. Okay.
Yes,
Alright.
Prof.
So our main discussion today is about Islamic worldview. So at the end of this lecture, I hope that you will be able to explain the concept of Islamic worldview. So what is worldview? So worldview means that how we view something, okay, and how we reason on certain things, how we make decisions, how we respond to certain things, right? So when we say the Islamic worldview means that our worldview, the basis of our worldview is from the Islamic perspective. Yes, sometimes we call this perspective. So kalau dalam bahasa Melayu kita kata kacamata Islam, pandangan alam Islam, tasawur Islam. Okay, so looking at things from the Islamic worldview. Now we have to be clear. Yeah, we have to be clear that and you have to ask yourself, am I looking from the lens of Islam? Ya, adakah kita melihat perkara ini daripada kacamata Islam? Or are we confused? Tak tahu ni daripada Islam ke apa ke, kita pun tak tahu. Ikut apa kita rasa je, ikut hati orang kata. Ataupun ikut apa yang kita fikir bagus, mana-mana kita kata itu bagus. Or is it from the opposite? And this is what we worry. So yang kita risau tu, apa yang the things that we hold on is something which is the opposite of the Islamic worldview. Okay, so I hope that today you would be able to appreciate that as a Muslim we must look at things from the Islamic worldview because it involves the Aqidah, our faith in Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, our faith in the Al-Quran, our faith in Prophet, all the prophets, okay, and of course including Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, so the Islamic worldview has a very close relation or connected with the purpose of the creation of man. So, for example, just now I'm sorry I can't remember the name, but one of the purpose of our creation is to illa liya'budun, is to worship Allah. But the other purpose of our creation is Allah create us to be inni ja'ilu fil ardi khalifah. Yeah, Allah would like to create us as the Khalifah on earth, so that we will take care of the earth. Okay, in order to know what we need to take care of and how to take care of the earth. Okay, how can we do that if we ignore the revelation? Yeah? Bagaimana kita nak tahu apa yang nak diurus di muka bumi ni kalau kita mengenepikan Al-Quran? Dan apatah lagi kita memperlekehkan Al-Quran. Kita rasa if you read in Al-Mulk, surah Al-Mulk, when it mentions in one of the verses, kerana bila nak baca tu dah detail. One of the verses where those who doesn't have faith in the Al-Quran, they said that Allah didn't reveal anything. Macam ni, wa qalu law kunna nasma'u aw na'lamu ma kunna fi ashabis sa'ir. Kan. Dia kata wa ma nazalallahu min syai', ya, dan tidaklah Allah menurunkan daripada sesuatu. Maknanya Quran ni mana ada apa-apa, kan? Maknanya that's how they look at it. Dia rasa Quran ni satu kitab yang tak tahu pun tak apa, kan? Tak faham pun tak apa. You have to put it aside pun tak bisa. And these are something that we need to realize, kan? And this is the ism that has been planted into our head. Ya, so Quran ni hanya untuk ustazah saja. Kita ni orang sains tak perlu belajar Quran, baca Quran, beriman dengan Quran. We have science, kita ada science untuk menerangkan segala-galanya. You can explain everything through science. And this is something that we have to understand, that this sometimes it is dangerous. It's a dangerous kind of thinking because we must have the strong faith that Al-Quran actually is knowledge, the source of knowledge, the primary knowledge, and Al-Quran is the primary source for the Muslim. Okay, so Allah create us as the Khalifah, and Allah give us the Quran so that we have the guidelines. Kalau if you buy satu device. For example, if you buy, I don't know, let's say you buy TV ke apa kan, ataupun washing machine or whatsoever, usually we will you will read the manual, yeah, in order to understand how to fix the thing, how to switch it on, how to operate those devices. But in life, how we go through our life if we don't read the Quran, if we don't understand the Quran, or if we think that Quran, nantilah saya dah umur 50, 60 nanti baru saya baca Quran. Yeah, so because we are being programmed by the ism that because they don't trust the Quran, they don't have the belief in Quran, so tanpa kita sedar kita pun buy in, kita meyakini worldview mereka. Okay, so whereas there is a relationship between Islamic worldview and the purpose of the creation of man, as we have to worship Allah and we are the Khalifah, and Allah also mentioned in the Quran that Alastu bi rabbikum, that Allah, when we were in Alam Zuriyat, Allah asked us, am I not your God? And we say, qalu bala shahidna. Yes, definitely you are our Lord. There's no deny about that. So dalam Alam Zuriyat tu kita memperakui bahawa Allah itu adalah Rabb. Tapi now bila tapak kaki kita daripada sebesar dua jari mak ngayah kita dan sekarang ni dah jadi besar, then sometimes we since we do not, orang kata, we do not get the reminder that we have actually witnessed, yeah, give our witness that Allah is our Rabb, and Allah and the purpose of our creation is to worship Him only. Ya, tak boleh nak bersekutukan, nak sembah Allah juga waktu sembahyang, tapi bila habis waktu sembahyang kita pun sembah harta, sembah kedudukan, sembah jawatan, sembah parah rupa, ya, dan sebagainya. Okay, so we forgot that Allah is the only one that we need to worship. Okay, and through the Islamic worldview, that you will be able to explain the goals of life as specified by Islam. Right? So in the Western worldview, the goals of life is to be successful. Okay, but to them, to the Western worldviews, what does success means? If you means that if you get a good job, if you have certain wealth, yeah, probably you have properties, house, businesses, and so on. So that's how they define success, right? But is this the success means in Islam? Bukan maknanya tak boleh ada harta, bukan maknanya tak boleh kaya. Even Abdul Rahman bin Auf, when he passed away, his houses was everywhere. Okay, dia nak bahagikan harta dia tu kepada waris-waris, harta faraid itu, sampai orang pecah-pecah tangan, nak ketuk dia punya emas dan sebagainya. So they have so a lot of wealth. Tapi dia digunakan untuk jalan Allah. Alright, so what is the difference between worldview? So what is the first photo shows what is the impression from the first photo? Yang sebelah kiri sekali. Gambar apa ni?
Lesbian marriage.
Relationship.
Perempuan dengan perempuan.
Okay, perempuan bergantung tangan, and then
Laki dengan laki.
laki-laki bergantung tangan, perempuan dan lelaki bergantung tangan. Right? Now, when I did my degree in Australia, so when we reach Australia, so the seniors will say, don't walk, don't walk and hold hand. Kalaupun perempuan dengan perempuan ataupun lelaki dengan lelaki. Yeah, so in Australia, they find this as not a good sign. This is an indicator of something which is quite negative. Tapi jalan lelaki perempuan bergantung tangan tak apa. That was in Australia. Yeah. So what does girls holding hand or men holding hand means in Australia?
LGBTQ.
Yeah, LGBT. Yeah, LGBT. So jadi kita kalau kat Australia memang kita tak jalan tangan dengan kawan-kawan dan sebagainya, because it gives a negative connotation. But today you can walk. Nak pegang tangan perempuan lelaki ke, laki-laki ke, perempuan tak apa. Sebab because they already fight for their human rights. Okay, so some forms when you fill up forms, they will ask your gender. So they will have male, female, lepas tu dia mesti ada yang ketiga. Yang ketiga tu maknanya other. So ada yang tak mengaku dia perempuan ataupun lelaki, dia tidak ada. Ataupun dia akan buat satu ruang something like macam kita tak mau declare kita yang perempuan ke lelaki. So hari ni dia jadi norms. Kalau dulu used to be with the Nabi Lot people, orang-orang yang pengikut Nabi Lot yang macam tu. So, tapi hari ini dia dah jadi norms. Maknanya ada golongan-golongan yang mengikut Nabi Lot. Sebab apa dia tak baca sejarah Nabi Lot. And a few years ago I have a chance to go to Palu in Sulawesi, and it's a GISO program. I'm not really sure whether you heard of GISO. So it's a community program where I think about 20 students. So me and another lecturer from FST, with 20 students, we went to Palu, Sulawesi, the place where there was a tsunami and a big earthquake. So the place is still orang kata dia masih dari kesan-kesan kesan-kesan tsunami dan sebagainya masih ada. So we went to a place where it is a very big hole. So kat situ tanah tu dia berpusing macam dalam mesin basuh. So orang, pokok, kereta, tanah bergaul, because bawah tu masuk air, so dia berpusing macam dalam washing machine. So jadi dia akan jadi terbalik lah. And that's and when you read the stories of Nabi Lot, that's how the people during Nabi Lot was azab Allah tu datang pada kaum Nabi Lot begitu. So dia jadi terbalik. Sebagaimana yang berlaku di situ. The words I can't remember the Arabic word, tapi word tu maknanya dia terlumpuk, terbalik semua sekali. So it has happened, tapi umat akhir zaman when they don't read the Quran and they don't understand the stories of Nabi Lot, they couldn't care less. So dia anggap itu satu hak asasi manusia, to be. So this is what worldview. So in Australia, probably 30 years ago, that this is a taboo, malu but now they couldn't care less. Kan depan-depan orang pun dia tak kisah kalau lelaki-lelaki but in Malaysia, if two ladies were holding hand or two guys holding hand, is it acceptable?
Yes, because we think it is maybe family member, friends.
Yeah. So they might be family members, they might be good friends. So benda tu is acceptable in Malaysia. But if men and ladies holding hand, kita ada reserve. If they are married, no problem. But if they are not married, then probably they don't understand the religion. That's what we have our perception, when we look at this situation. So if you see, so in Australia and in Malaysia, we have the way we look at things and how we interpret things are different. So in Australia, this the last time it was not okay. Because they considered this as LGBT, but in Malaysia there's no problem, ladies holding hand or men holding hand. So ini one example of what worldview is. Satu perkara orang lain mungkin boleh kata ni salah, negatif, but on the other side, bagi kita satu yang sangat positif. Kalau misalkan kita tengok anak mak pegang tangan ke, kawan-kawan pegang tangan, it shows the closeness of the family members. Tapi kalau kita tengok perempuan lelaki pegang tangan, kita ada reservation. But in Australia, no problem. Perempuan lelaki pegang tangan, tak kahwin pun tak. So we have a different way of looking at things. Okay, so what is worldview? So worldview is one person's mental model of his or her reality. Okay, so how do we perceive this is right, this is wrong? Banyak bergantung pada kita punya mental model, which is the worldview. And so it is a personal framework to organize ideas, attitudes, and theories about some aspect of the world which a person lives. So it defines you, you as a person. So how you perceive things, how you give ideas, your attitudes on things, and will very much depends on your worldview, right? So Okay, so in short, worldview will influence the way you think, macam mana cara kita berfikir. Okay, so if I have 100, if I give to another person $10, apa you fikir? Adakah you rasa you akan miskin RM10, or you rasa that $10 maknanya Allah berkuasa return balik, mungkin 10 kali ganda, mungkin 20 kali ganda, and so. Okay, so it depends how you think. So kalau orang yang meyakini bahawa rezeki itu tengah Allah, RM10 tu yang sebenarnya tak ada apa-apa. If you give $10, walaupun mungkin that is the last $10 in pocket. So kalau if you talk to people who have a good faith, that rezeki is from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, so sometimes they only have $10 in their pocket, but somebody would like to somebody maybe in difficulties, and this is a real story that I've heard from one of the sharing. She only had $10, but she believed that whatever that you give, Allah will return back. So she just gave that $10, the only $10 she had in her pocket, and then she gave a talk, a lecture. When she went out from the lecture, when the lecture finishes, and she went out, and then somebody gave her an envelope, and in that envelope is $100. So dia bagi RM10, orang bagi dia 100. So that's how Allah, one example of how Allah return ada rezeki. Tapi kalau kita tak yakin, memang kita tak dapat lah. Kalau tak yakin kan, macam mana dapat? So that's so the worldview will very much will influence the way you think on how you perceive things. And this is something that we as a Muslim, the stories about how Aisyah was being slandered, macam mana dia difitnah. Aisyah was apa istilah dia tu, ifkun hadis, maknanya cerita-cerita fitnah mengenai Aisyah, isteri Rasulullah SAW, because the munafik, when they saw that Aisyah with the sahabat coming back from somewhere, and the munafik didn't say anything, he just threw his teriak muka dengan keningnya, and that's how the fitnah tu disebarkan, hanya dengan gerak muka, bukan dan cerita itu tersebar seolah-olah memburukkan Aisyah. So but in that story, Allah said to the Muslim, Allah remind the Muslim, as a Muslim you should have a good, bersangka baik sesama Islam. So but if we don't have this, if we don't understand, then we might be also people that perceive things negatively easily. So it might. Number three, the decisions. Okay, for example, why did you choose Usim? Why did you choose ISA or HIT or financial math? Okay, so try to uncover yourself. Okay, kenapa kenapa nak pilih this program? So and try to reset that the reason is that this is where I choose to contribute to the ummah personally. Secara peribadi, inilah cara saya nak membangun ummah. So each second that you spend to learn whatever subjects, to understand the subjects, to do the assignment and so on, will be an ibadah for you. Jadi benda tu, then only we are entitled for that fisabilillah. Tapi kalau buat belajar pun hanya untuk di sini dapat first class, dapat A, and then tunjuk sana tunjuk sini kat Facebook, Instagram, and how come this kind of behavior be awarded as fisabilillah. So benda tu kita kena reflect lah, tengok. And when we were influence our response to situation, our values, okay, and the purpose of life. Okay, so there are a few. So in the textbook, there were discussion, for example, Syed Naqi Alatas, Professor Syed Naqi Alatas, he defined worldview as the vision of reality and truth. So apa yang kita katakan benar, apa yang kita kata real, does science define truth? Semuanya. So this is something that we need to ask lah. So to the Western, science defines everything. So kadang-kadang dipanggil Scientology, scientism dan sebagainya. But to us, science only explain part of reality and truth, because science cannot explain everything, including God. Sebab science, it depends on the sensory. Science depends on your seeing, your hearing, the smell, the taste, and also the how we feel. Kita rasa. So that's why science cannot explain everything, because it is limited to our sensories. So how can science explain the existence of God, malaikat, alam kubur, and so on? Okay, so and Prof. Wan Muhammad Noor, he defined worldview is how the arrive of reality and truth of knowledge. Bagaimana kita tahu ilmu yang kita ada ini benar? Macam mana kita nak ukur apa yang kita faham ini benar? Okay. So kalau kita ada sandarkan kebenaran ini pada orang, atau then orang tu mungkin salah, mungkin betul. But kalau kita sandarkan reality and truth ni kepada Allah, kepada kita Allah, then we have some assurance. Kita ada assurance that kita Allah ni adalah kebenaran semata. Okay, so so the Islamic worldview is actually it will define our relationship with the Creator. So falsafah hidup kita kena betul, falsafah kita cara berfikir kena betul, and it has to be connected with the Creator. Adakah is this what Allah wants us to see? Is this what Allah wants us to decide? Is this what Allah wants us to do? Okay, because as we know, Islam is the only religion accepted by Allah SWT. Hanya satu saja. And when we read Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahus samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And Allah is the only religion, and Allah is the only God. And we believe that Rasulullah, he teach the ummah Al-Quran, but who teach Rasul the Al-Quran is the angel. So malaikat Jibril teach Rasulullah Al-Quran, and then Rasulullah teach us Al-Quran, and that's how the tradition goes. So we need to learn from somebody who is well versed with the revelation, ilmu wahyu. We cannot just kita tak boleh gunakan Ustaz Google ke Ustaz YouTube. That is not we might not get the same understanding if we learn it from somebody who has learned from also another teacher. Okay, so in the Islamic worldview, it actually defines, actually emphasizes that Allah is the creator of the universe. Okay, so we always understand that Allah is the creator of the universe. Allah is the one who arranged everything. The people we meet in our life, yesterday, 2 years ago, tomorrow, next year, is already something that Allah is already in the knowledge of Allah. Okay, and the human, we have not only the physical. Okay, we are not a body that consists of only intellectual, but we also have the ruh. So the ruh is the spiritual part. Okay, so we need to we need to we have to give the food for our thought. Food for thought maknanya makanan untuk minda, but we also need food for our soul. Kita perlu juga makanan untuk hati kita. So melalui solat, melalui menjaga hubungan kita dengan Allah, zikir dan sebagainya. So kita, then we are a holistic person. So kalau kita tak jaga hubungan dengan Allah, kita tak jaga the aspect roh kita, then kita hanya body physical, then what is the difference between us and the animal? Apa beza kita dengan mesin basuh, for example? So with this roh and with this connection with Allah, that defines us as the human being sebagai orang Islam. Okay, I would not elaborate on this. Okay, so the Islamic worldview is very much connected with the Tawhid, faith, and also faith. Okay, and let me highlight. I think this is the second last slide. Okay, so let me highlight this. The second point here. We can see that a close relationship between science and religious knowledge. Yeah? So discoveries in science have indeed revealed the grandeur and the greatness of the system created by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And this is what the purpose of us learning science. Again, learning science is not just to make us feel that we are good, we are brilliant, we are sophisticated and so on, but through science, we should be able to see the grandeur and the greatness of the system created by Allah. Okay? When we look at H2O, is water, E equals to mc squared, F equals to ma, we should be able to see that this is the system created by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, not the Newton. Yeah, bukan Archimedes yang create the theory, but Allah already designed that, but the human discover how to understand that sunnatullah. Yeah, so science is actually about sunnatullah. So kita ayat-ayat Allah, there are two types. One is the Al-Quran and number two is His creation, is also ayatullah, science of Allah. So, and this will certainly create awe towards Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, thus leading to the feeling of piety in each Muslim. Okay, so melihat segala kejadian tu mengingatkan kita kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Alright, so through study, reasoning, and research, scientific discoveries can be compiled and arranged to various fields of science. Hence, the scientific knowledge gained is the applied and practice to produce technology to assist man. Okay? So the technology is to assist man. The words in the Quran use taskhir. So the technology is to serve you, to serve us as a human. Yeah, so kita tu kereta tu adalah untuk berkhidmat kepada kita, bukan kita berkhidmat kepada kereta. So kalau kita khidmat kepada kereta, kita jadi hamba kereta lah dengan pasang macam-macam. We spend a lot of our wealth on the car. Ya, tapi jiran kat sebelah mungkin tak makan, mungkin kesakitan dan sebagainya. The technology, the purpose of technology is to assist man, or sometimes we say rahmatan lil alamin, to bring rahmat to Allah, to the human. Yeah, now we can travel to, for example, to Japan in just probably 5 to 6 hours. Yeah, in one day. Yeah, which is a technology that Allah has given to Prophet Sulaiman. Yeah, Allah said that Nabi Sulaiman can travel in one morning, 1 month, and then in the other in one afternoon, another month. Yeah, so the Nabi Sulaiman can travel 2 months journey in one day. Yeah, so it's a technology already. Ni orang kata Allah dah bagi mujizat kepada Nabi Sulaiman, he can travel by air. So jadi I was talking that, so the technology is to assist man, is a blessing, and it will help us in our purpose of being in worshipping Allah and also to become a Khalifah. Okay, so so knowledge is not a second class or secular knowledge that has no position in the sight of Allah. So secular knowledge means knowledge that separates religion and knowledge, separates Allah and knowledge. Yeah, so ilmu apa-apa yang knowledge tu kita anggap Allah tak ada kena-mengena dengan ilmu itu. Yeah, the knowledge doesn't come from Allah. And as though Allah do not know what He created, what is His creation. Okay, so secular knowledge has no position in the sight of Allah. Sebab dia secular knowledge ni dia buang terus. Sebab tu dipanggil godless. So knowledge is actually an intermediary to highlight the natural system and regulation created by Allah. So knowledge too is actually the sunnatullah. Okay, and the purpose of Allah creating man, and so the discoveries of science should reveal the grandeur and greatness of system by Allah. So whenever you learn in your class, yeah, try to train yourself. Kadang macam rasa pelik kan, so kita cuba train bila kita tengok sesuatu tu, and then kita cuba connectkan itu kepada ilmu Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Okay, so I think that's the discussion on the Islamic worldview. So why Islamic worldview is important? Because it will shape your thinking, it will shape your mindset, yeah, it will shape your mental model. Okay, so it is very important that we have to be clear that our worldview is from Islam. Don't get mixed up with secular, with liberalism, with positivism and things like that, because those ism is not something in line with Islam. And that's why we need to learn and we need to understand the difference between the Islamic worldview and the Western worldview, so that we are not being trapped, yeah, into something which is not in line, yeah, with the perspective of Islam. Okay, so I think it's already 10:13. So I would like to end the discussion today. Now if we go back to the title of the subject, is Introduction to Islamic Science. So what is Islamic science? Is looking at knowledge, not necessarily only science, but looking at knowledge from the Islamic worldview. Okay, so apa-apa saja ilmu kita melihat daripada perspektif Islam. So bila kita lihat daripada perspektif Islam, maknanya we have to connect that to the Creator. Kan? So Allah kata apa mengenai perkara ni, pandangan Allah apa mengenai perkara ni. So in order for us to understand what Allah what Allah command us, then of course we have to go back to the revelation. Dan kena tengok apa yang diterangkan dalam Quran dan hadis. If we don't have the knowledge in Quran and hadis, then definitely we have to go bertanya pada orang yang lebih pakar. Itu juga perintah Allah, ya. So kalau kita tak tahu, kita tanya pada orang-orang yang lebih mengetahui. Okay, so I think I will end here today, and I hope the lecture today would be able to open up your eyes, would be open up your mind, that's on the what is Islamic worldview. So when you look around in your life, just look and try to evaluate, is this from an Islamic worldview? Is it something which is not friendly with Islamic worldview? Or is this something totally not from the Islamic worldview? Okay, and we hope that from this filter that you have in yourself, then when you go into the society, you will be able to bring this orang kata neraca ni. So bila masuk dalam masyarakat pun boleh menimbang, ini betul ke tak betul. Macam mana nak tahu betul ke tak? We go back to the Quran, we go back to the hadis. Okay, kita tengok apa ulama-ulama terangkan. Okay, and not merely use our logic, our rational. Okay, kadang-kadang when we talk about religion, yang kita kata, oh saya fikir macam ni, oh saya rasa macam ni. So religion is not something about our logic. It's about apa yang Allah perintahkan dan apa yang Rasulullah suruh. Okay, so please accept my apology kalau if there's anything that tersalah cakap, terlanjur bicara dan sebagainya. Then insyaAllah next week we will continue on zooming into science, from the position of science in Islam, insyaAllah. Okay, so before we end, I would like you to answer some reflection on today's discussion. Okay, so that's me. Okay, so please make sure you answer this question because this is also my report on your attendance of the class. So siapa yang follow kat Facebook tu tolong juga isi. Ya. Okay, dan juga yang tengok di YouTube. Okay, so itu saja, kita tutup dengan tasbih kafarah dan surah Al-As. Subhanallah wa bihamdika. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So please make sure you answer the reflection, some reflection. The purpose of reflection is just so that you can digest and summarize what you have listened and to put it in your perspective what you have understand from this class. Okay, and will also help me to look at your answers, and if I think that you are not clear, then probably I can explain again in the next lecture. Okay, so have a good rest. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Doctor.
Shukran alaiki, Professor.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Jazakumullah khair.